watershed component of the new campus needed to be done because it's underneath what is the temporary campus. It wouldn't be able to be done while the students are in temporary housing, so it was done last summer, prior to the installation of the temporary housing, which was also completed last summer. The hillside reconstruction, the first phase of that, first increment of that, are the stitch piers. They are there so that when the hillside is reconstructed properly, the balance of what's uphill from there will stay in place and can be done. Also just awarded and contracted is the demolition of the existing campus. That work starts here in the next week or two. It'll start with hazardous mitigation and then move forward, tearing down the school. When it's sufficiently out of the way of the scope for increment 2 for the hillside, then we'll proceed with that. And then, as soon as that's complete, then we'll have the opportunity to start with the new campus with the target of populating that new campus in the fall of 2018. After the campus is populated, the remaining phases will be the balance of Pinole Valley road improvements. There's some new traffic signals that will go in, basic road improvements, and get rid of the temporary housing that's there. I think there was some discussion about that earlier. And then finish out the courts, their basketball courts, tennis courts, and both softball and baseball synthetic turf fields.
All right, and so that whole project, all the courts, everything will be done by fall of 2018?
No, that's not correct.
Just
The building will be occupied by fall of 2018. So we need to move, that's when the student population will move into the new building. That'll free up the temporary campus to be removed, and then proceed with the balance of the scope.
Right.
So where we are, the project is currently going through district reviews, constructability reviews. It was initiated during the course of the project, but recently at the end of last year, the final components were made available, entered into discussion, and we're working through those, looking at wrapping those up by April of this year. We also have a cost budget reconciliation effort. We're aware of what the project budget is approved by the board, so we want to make sure we're in keeping with that. And we're going to take that on. We've got some preliminary, more than preliminary, we've got some very developed cost estimates from both the architect's estimator and the district's estimator, and we're going through that process and targeting having that reconciled next month.
So we get a report back when that is actually done, and we have firm numbers, because that's a big conversation. Everybody does want the firm numbers.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, so we could put that on, maybe not for our February meeting, our next February meeting, but for our March 10 meeting.
We'll have to get a better idea of where we are and how close we are to doing that. It might be an aggressive, it might just be a little, the timing might be a little off to try and hit that March 10th date.
So you think we have to go to April? Yeah, that's what you're saying?
I think
Yes.
April's certainly realistic.
All right, so in April, we could expect to know the entire budget. Okay.
The reconciliation of the estimates
The
and what our
estimates.
original budget was.
Right.
That's what we'll be looking at.
In April. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so when all of that is completed, we're all aligned, then we will pursue DSA stamp out. The architect does have all the back check comments. They've, as I understand, addressed nearly all of them. It's just a matter of getting these other components properly addressed within the documents before going out to DSA stamp out. That's why they fall after those other efforts. Then with the DSA stamp out, we have the opportunity to bid the project June through July. If we're more successful, we could be more aggressive with that, but those I think are, for now.
Are those conservative numbers? Is that what you're telling me?
They're pretty real dates, I guess. I put it that way. Not overly conservative.
Okay.
So, assuming that we're aligning all the way through our tasks, then we would look at starting construction in August. Might be late August, but with contracting and all of that, getting the contract in place, that's what we'd be looking at. And then again,
And that would be our 3 years, right?
it would be right on 3 years, probably a little short of that. We might want to be aggressive in terms of contract period that we want to incorporate.
Right.
Not aggressive, but we don't have to give them a full 36 months. We do something that certainly allows for the building to be occupied in time.
Right.
So some of the budget considerations, we have the various parts, the costs associated with the parts of the projects, phases of the projects we've already completed. So again, we have the detention basin, the temp housing, the hillside reconstruction, demolition, and through the fourth line item, those are costs that we have. Those are contract costs. They account for contract amendments in the case of the detention basin and the temp housing offsite improvements. And these are bids that we have for hillside reconstruction and campus demolition. So those are the real costs. And then when we get to the new campus and the Pinole Valley Road improvements, the estimate presented at the June 19th board meeting of 2013 was $104 million.
I have a question about that. I'm concerned that that's an estimate. How much higher might that go?
So let me address that, because that's part of what we're doing with our budget and our estimate reconciliation right now. That's the work that's underway.
That's what we're gonna find out in April, that's the number that's gonna change.
Yes, and right now there is a gap between what was in that budget for $104 million for the campus and the street improvements. So the estimates are coming in higher than that. We're reconciling those estimates, because we don't know if they're exactly right on target or not, and that is the work that we're doing.
Looking back at the presentation that you did earlier that showed, I believe, $10 million left in our bond program.
Yeah, based upon the assumptions in 3.5 years, yes.
So if this figure were to go higher, that could eat into that money.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so picking up there, the $104 million, and we're working to keep that in alignment with what the board has approved. The remaining phases include,
Excuse me, I'm sorry,
Yes.
before you go on, what do you mean by Pinole Valley Road improvements? What will that involve?
there is a relationship between the district and the city in order to work this project effectively. There is some impact that the new campus will have, and so that's been in discussion with the city for several years. And part of that discussion resulted in, I think I mentioned before, some additional traffic signals to improve traffic along the street. There will be some surface work, restriping, because of the impact of the construction.
Is that a two-lane road at that point?
I beg your pardon?
Is it a two-lane road in front of the high school?
It's, right now, I think it's 3 lanes each way. 4? Each way?
No, not each way.
2 each way, okay.
It's four lanes
Right.
with a middle.
Right.
I was getting some hand signals.
Right, that's what it is.
2 lanes. Okay. Right, so those remaining phases, we have the budget of about $18 million, a little over $18 million. That brings our total construction cost with those real numbers, with those estimated numbers, things that we're going to work towards to maintain almost $137 million. With the supporting costs, fees for consultants, for DSA, for agency approval, we run about a 25% cost on that of the project cost. And that brings us to our 181, 182.
And that $181.9 million was what was approved by the board in February of 2013.
Thank you.
Okay. Next slide.
There we go. Okay, so our next steps, and we touched on those earlier, but we are going to complete the constructability and stakeholder review process, get the budget reconciled with costs, back to DSA, get stamped out, and then bid the project. And we did want to identify that there are things that lead to uncertainty with that bid, and with any project bid, and that's what might be out to bid at the same time, not by the district, but by other
Right.
entities. The quantity of bidders, if there's a small pool of bidders, there's a likelihood that prices go up. If you got a wealth of bidders because they're bidding at the right time, that can drive prices down. And then just market fluctuations, material costs can go up, as can transportation and other cost considerations.